Hey, I'm Danny, and this is the first devlog for my game A Foxtail. I've been working on the game for around about 6 months now, so this devlog will be more of an introduction to the game and what work I've done up to this point. The idea for the game all started from a pixel art fox that I drew in A-Sprite. At the time I was already looking for a game to work on. Up to this point I'd only made smaller games that had released onto mobile devices, and a few games that I completed during game jams. So, I animated the fox and made a character controller in Unity. With that, I made a few small stages and asked friends and family to try controlling the fox. People seemed to enjoy jumping around the platforms and passing through the little stages that I made, which led me to believe that the game was viable to be developed further. A few months ago, I ran a Kickstarter campaign for a Foxtail. I was nervous to see the reaction to the game, and if it was something people would be interested in supporting. The campaign was set up to run for a month, but with only a week left, the game was unfortunately still quite a way off being funded. Kickstarter kindly gave a week extension to the campaign, which gave a small bit of hope that it may get funded. However, the progress was still very slow even with the extra time, and with only 3 days remaining on the campaign, it still had over 30% to go before reaching the funding goal. On the final days, the indie gaming community really got behind the project and was sharing it everywhere. The funding started to climb faster and faster. With a little over an hour remaining on the Kickstarter window, amazingly, the project got funded. I just want to say thanks so much to everyone who shared the game across social media, and all the amazing people on the Discord server, and especially anyone who backed the project. So the gameplay for a Foxtail falls into the genre of a pixel art platformer. I've always loved the style of pixel art, and over the years there has been many games that have showed the potential and how beautiful it can be. From the point of view of an indie developer working alone, it can be a lot less labour intensive than most other types of art style, which is important. In terms of making the genre a platformer, I think like a lot of other developers who choose to do this, it stems from a childhood love for the genre. I grew up playing game consoles, but one that stands out the most for me was the Super Nintendo. I have a lot of great memories spending hours playing games like Super Mario and Donkey Kong Country 2 on there. Looking back, I think something that made these games in particular resonate so much with me is they kept challenging the player in new ways, while always feeling fair and rewarding. It's important to me that I take these core principles that these early platforms introduced and apply them to a Foxtail. But it's equally as important to look at more recent platformers like Super Meat Boy and Celeste, and understand how they have evolved the genre further. In my opinion, the scope of a platformer is more controllable than most other genres, and that feels right for my first indie game. I want to avoid making something which will take 3, 4 or even 5 years, at least for this project. Keeping all this in mind and looking at platformers on Steam and their revenue, it's clear that a lot of platformers are being released at the minute. As a result, the median revenue of each game is lower than other genres. So, platformers probably aren't the most commercial games at present, but I'm fine with that. So far in the game, all the core mechanics have been created and implemented. I spent a fair amount of time running playtests and tweaking the controls to get them feeling just right. I imagine I'll amend and tweak this further throughout development, just because the way the game controls is such an important aspect to the player experience, especially considering a platformer. Throughout the game, as you progress through the world, the mechanics of the environment will differ between the various settings. Again, this takes influence from other platformers. I think it's a great way to keep the gameplay feeling fun and fresh. I plan for the game to have a lot of stages of variable sizes, dynamics and challenges. To help me do this, I've built a level editor tool in Unity. It operates in quite a simple way. In the project files I have a folder that contains the objects I use in the game. These might be decorative objects, lights, backgrounds, or platforms themselves. I have a custom editor script that allows me to access this folder and select the objects I want. I can then alter the parameters related to it, such as the size, name, rotation angle, and if it uses a grid. Some of the objects, like platforms, can be placed dynamically, so when they are placed together, they will join up. I can also save what parameters I've used to a CSV file by pressing a button, and when I load the object again, it will start with those parameters. It's quite simple so far, but it's already saved me a ton of time. Well, that's it for this introduction of devlog. Thanks for watching to this point. If you want to hear more about the development of a foxtail, I'm planning on doing more videos like this, so feel free to subscribe. Also, if you have any ideas for the game or anything you'd like to hear more about, let me know in the comments. In the near future, I'm planning to run some playtesting through my Discord server, so if you're interested, I've put a link to the server in the description. Thanks again for watching, and I'll leave you with the trailer I made for the Kickstarter campaign.
It always starts the same. In the dream, you're with me. But I know when I wake up, you'll still be gone.